Welcome back to ABC13 Weather Now. I'm joined by our friend Houston Chronicle meteorologist Justin Ballard. Today we're talking about something called the Fujiwara Effect. Yes. You've heard us talk about it recently with those storms out there. Happy Monday, Justin.
Happy Monday to you, Travis. Yeah, it's a term that I think catches a lot of people off guard, but it does happen from time to time. So let's kind of break down what it means.
Okay.
And how it could affect the hurricane forecast.
And I'll be right back, actually. You explain. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay, so how storms dance. We're talking about the Fujiwara effect, and basically what we've got two systems in the Atlantic, one larger than the other. You see that here. This is just a diagram, an example, if you will, of what's going on. But essentially what they'll do, they'll kind of pivot around one another over the next 24 to, say, 48 hours. This makes things really complicated when we're talking about a forecast. Right? Exactly like that. Perfect example of how these storms kind of dance around one another. And it really does, like I said just a second ago, make the forecast a little bit more complicated.
Absolutely.
So late last week, we were talking about possibly a Carolina coastline landfall. We were, my friends and I from back in North Carolina were already, getting a little worried about that.
Sure, yeah.
Thankfully, though, it does look like the Fujiwara effect, will kind of help pull that out to sea.
And Justin, this was a really interesting test case too of the AI computer models.
Yes,
because a lot of the AI models were saying actually this is going to turn out to sea and get pulled out by Humberto.
And guess what?
And sure enough, it looks like that's the scenario taking over.
And when we're talking about the Fujiwara effect, we've got three scenarios that can really happen. The first scenario, which is really the most likely in any given sort of Fujiwara effect, storms kind of dance around a shared point. Now they have to be within, 800, 900 miles of one another for them to get that effect going. Scenario number two, not as common, but certainly does happen. They kind of slingshot outwards, so they repel one another. Not really seeing that with this one. The third and most rare is actually when weaker storms merge with stronger storms, and that can make kind of a larger, stronger hurricane in the Atlantic or the Pacific.
Almost every time in the past that I've gone to a school visit, at least one kid says, what happens if two hurricanes collide? And the answer is, well, usually the bigger one just eats up the smaller one.
Exactly.
And then it can start to re-intensify again.
Yeah. Now we're not necessarily talking, a humongous explosion of growth.
It's not a megastorm.
Certainly, no. Yeah. But it certainly can grow a little bit larger. The wind field can expand, and the winds themselves can also intensify.
Okay. Now you did some digging in the archives and have found an interesting tidbit of history from 30 years ago. Tell us about that.
Humberto, another, H-named storm.
Because we recycle the names,
right? We recycle the names. Humberto actually was kind of gobbled up by the I-named storm. I'm blanking on the I-named storm.
Was it Iris?
That year. Iris, actually, yes. I should have remembered that. We've got an Iris here. Iris kind of, absorbed Humberto because it was a little bit stronger, a little bit larger. Humberto was struggling to kind of maintain intensity, so it actually absorbed into Iris.
That's pretty incredible. And
history does repeat itself.
Thankfully, this time Humberto is tugging away Imelda.
It is, and I can show you that here. I know we just went over this. Rachel just kind of showed this, but Humberto on the right, Imelda on the left, those storms are going to be kind of dancing around one another over the next 24 to 48 hours. And of course, Imelda goes out to sea. Now, of course, that could mean some problems for Bermuda, but for at least the southeast United States, no issues, no certainly direct impacts for us.
Yeah, because on Friday, it looked like they were about to get walloped, and there was the concern, after what happened last year with Helene.
Almost on the anniversary exactly is when we were looking at
it was just last week. It was
the
1 year.
Last week.
Yeah, so we're really grateful for that. All right, that's really fun, Justin. Thank you for telling us a little bit more about the Fujiwara effect.